How can I be most helpful to others? It's so beautiful in here. Sometimes the questions are so esoteric and so philosophically specific about some aspect of a scripture or some aspect of consciousness. And I actually always love it when they're so practical about daily life. Because of course, even the scriptures, even the philosophy, even the mantras only mean anything when we can actually live them in our daily lives. It's not about memorizing them to impress others, unless you happen to be a professor of philosophy or something, but not something most of us are. It's about how can I bring it into my life and live it in a way that transforms me. So I love when they're right there in the question in life. So how are we more helpful to others? Well, here's the most beautiful thing. You're actually the most helpful to others when you are the most in line with your spiritual path and your heart. And that sounds very ironic and even contradictory to a lot of the relationships that we have, where it feels like people want us to be something perhaps other than what we are. But that's actually not in either their best interest or your best interest. Because when we squeeze the truth of who we are, and I don't mean my ego, I don't mean a blown up identity of my imagined false greatness, but I mean really the truth of who I am at the core. If I suffocate that and squeeze that and try to change that because someone else tells me that that's how they want me to be, obviously it's not good for me, but it's also not good for them. Because all it's doing for them is perpetuating the idea that their happiness, their peace, is contingent upon me changing who I am. So if I do it, even if I act the part and they seem happy, all I've done is I've enabled them in a really unhealthy mental pattern that says, you are the reason I'm upset. You are the reason I'm stressed. You are the cause of my problems. If you just could be like that instead, could be like this instead, then I would be happy, then I'd be peaceful. And if I try to make myself like that, even out of all the love in my heart, all I've really done is enabled a really dysfunctional pattern of thinking in their mind, which is that their unhappiness and their lack of peace is due to me. Now, it's sensitive here and it's delicate because the ego is amazing. It's incredibly cunning, it's incredibly insidious, and it wears the costume and plays the role of lots of other parts within us. And so if I say, I am most helpful to others when I live my highest truth, well, the ego pipes up and says, I know what your highest truth is. Your highest truth is to have everybody bow down to you and be nice to you and worship you and do what you say, and you should never have to do the dishes or take out the trash, and other people should do that for you, and everyone should appreciate you. You should be the one who gets the raise and the promotion. That's your highest truth. Like, you are the best. So the ego does that wearing the costume of your highest truth. But it's just the ego in costume. And then it's just harming you and, of course, harming others, because if you try to convince someone that your highest truth is such that you can't do dishes, or your highest truth is such that you can't take out the trash, or your highest truth is such that it requires anything of anyone else, then you're just imposing lies on them as well. And so when we talk about living your highest truth, what does that mean? It means knowing that the truth of who I am isn't this identity, isn't this body, isn't this role, isn't my history. It's not the roles that I play with you or with you or with you or with you or with all of the different people in my life. It's none of those. It's not any of the things that have happened to me. It's not any of the things I've achieved or earned. No title I've ever been given. Who I am is consciousness. Who I am is divinity. Who I am is love, is truth, is soul. And these are all just different words for the same thing. When we speak about soul, spirit, divinity, that who you are at the core is divine. You can say who you are is your soul. Who you are is spirit. Who you are is consciousness. You can also say who you are is love. Who you are is truth. Who you are is divine energy. All the rest is a game. All the rest is the drama that we play. And when we forget who we really are and we think that who I am is this role, is this drama, and so I need you to give me your lines so I can play my part. I need you to treat me a certain way so I can know who I am. I want to feel important, so I need you to treat me like I'm important. I want to feel lovable, so I need you to treat me like I'm lovable. I want to feel worthy, so I need you to treat me like I'm worthy. No. Then it's not my truth. Then it's just you and me role-playing in a game. You throw me lines, I say my lines. Then we're just playing a choreographed drama, a dance. Instead, that highest truth, that's why we meditate, that's why we pray, that's why we engage in our spiritual practice, to know who I am. And when you do that, when you really know who you are, circling back to the question specifically about being helpful to others, several things happen. Number one, you no longer need other people to act a certain way in order for you to be happy and peaceful, which is an incredible load off of any relationship. Anyone who's ever been in a relationship with someone who you walk on eggshells around because you know if I do this, they're going to have a fit, if I do that, they're going to have a fit, that's a really stressful situation to be in. And so if that person became enlightened, if that person connected with their highest truth, if that person woke up and knew that who they are was whole and complete and divine, and they didn't need to rely on you acting a certain way or speaking a certain way or dressing a certain way, suddenly you would be able to breathe. Suddenly you'd be free. And what's interesting is that you'd be free to probably love them more. We think that we can kind of squeeze love out of people, that I can mold you into someone, but you can't. And so by me getting in touch with my highest truth, it frees you in our relationship to be who you are, because you no longer need to be who I need you to be, because I'm okay. You come home on time? Great. Dinner's hot. You come home late? Dinner might be cold, but I haven't had a fit. I'm not screaming and yelling and killing myself and locking the doors and throwing you out of the house and throwing dinner on the ceiling. You may end up having to heat it up yourself, depending on my mood at that moment and what else I have going on. But at least all is intact. You're not going to be sleeping on the couch. I'm not going to be sleeping on the couch. We're not going to have a silent war for the next day or two or year. Because you being late didn't impact my self-worth in any way. It didn't impact my self-identity in some way. I understood it was about you. I'm still whole and complete. So it frees you to then be able to live your life in a peaceful way. It also gives you something even deeper. If I'm identifying myself as the body and my role, then when I look at you, I'm going to identify you as your body and your role. If I'm moving through this world as physical body, material existence, history, identity, so I move through the world as 48-year-old female sannyasi, okay, and I meet you, and I'm going to interact with you as a woman, as a person who's not Indian, as a yoga student, as however it is I'm going to interact with you. And I'm going to interact with you perhaps based on how tall or short you are, how fat or thin you are, how rich or poor you seem to be, all of these different aspects that are how I identify myself. Now that sticks you in a box. Every woman, many men possibly, but every woman knows what it's like to have a conversation with a man who, as they say, undresses you with their eyes. You know what it's like to have a conversation with someone who's going like this as you're talking to them, right? I mean, you feel it inside. And something very interesting happens, which is you become very aware of your body. Now, you may have been moving into that situation from the heart, from the soul, from the spirit. But the minute that someone starts looking you up and down, suddenly you feel very body conscious. Their own identification and objectification has actually stuck you into a box. In that situation, in that moment, you are your body. But if you have an interaction with someone who's coming into this from heart, from soul, not from body, from the identity of divinity, well then when I meet you, I'm going to see you from a place of soul. I'm not coming at this as a 48-year-old female sannyasi. I'm coming at this as soul, as love, as spirit, as consciousness. And so when I meet you, I'm going to meet you like that. And what that does is an incredible gift for people, because you create a container, a space into which people who may not have ever had the opportunity to meet someone on a level of soul, consciousness, spirit, heart, are able, if they want, can't force anyone into it, but if they want, if they have that open-hearted courage, they can step into that moment and meet you from a place of soul. And that's about the kindest thing you can do for another person that I can think of. Because pretty much most of our other needs we can get met. You're hungry and the loved one at home didn't cook for you. Okay, well, there's lots of restaurants. There's ordering pizza in most parts of the world. There's all kinds of different apps and companies that'll deliver to you whatever food you want to eat. Okay, not as nice as the loved one cooking for you, but you're going to survive. You're going to get food in your stomach. Most of what we need, we actually can figure out how to make happen ourselves. But to have an interaction with someone, of being able to connect heart to heart, soul to soul, where you're not wrapped up in your body conscience, where you're not wrapped up in your story, your history, because the person's not coming into it with their history. So you're not meeting two actors on a stage in their costumes needing each other to give the lines. You're meeting as two souls. Never born, never died, nowhere to go, nothing to do. No lines to say, no dance to do. And it's an incredible gift to give someone. And it's an incredible gift to be given. So allow yourself to wake up. Allow yourself to really fully embrace the truth of who you are. Don't try to shove it down people's throats. A lot of times that happens when we start on a spiritual path, as we get this kind of spiritual arrogance. It's the ex-smoker syndrome. You know, those who used to smoke but have quit are the worst to other people who are still smoking. Much worse usually than people who have never smoked, because they've quit, they've done it, they've seen that it's possible. And so there's sort of this sense of, I'm higher, you're lower, because I've done it, you haven't. And in a really tragically ironic way, we tend to get some of that spiritually. As we start to experience and evolve, we get this, I'm humbler than you are feeling. I'm the humblest person in the room. Without having the ability to realize how ridiculous that concept is. So as you have that experience, don't try to shove it down people's throats. Don't try to make them see it or make them understand it, but just live it. And as you live your freedom, you're going to energetically help other people live their freedom. We're going to stop enabling other people's illnesses and other people's ignorances and start living the truth, creating an energetic field of truth that invites others, doesn't force others, but invites others to enter it and to vibrate accordingly.